Metroid Dread is one of the most enjoyable games I've played in recent years. But before I look into why, let me bring you up to speed. I fell in love with video games in the 90s. I played as many as I could up until about 2005, when my musical career and my life in general just sort of crumbled around me. But by 2015, I'd been out of the gaming loop for like a decade, and my life was just so far off the rails that I didn't really see a possibility of coming back. But thankfully, by 2020, I had got to the point where I could start gaming again, but I could only really afford like quite outdated consoles. Like my primary concern was PlayStation because I wanted to catch up on all the Final Fantasies that I'd missed. Boy, was that a disappointment. Except for Remake and 16, obviously, but yeah, pretty much a waste of time. I also wanted to get into Halo because I'd seen Family Jewels do a superb cover of the Halo theme, and that kind of made me want to marathon the Master Chief Collection. So I got an Xbox One. There were some other FPSs that I wanted to get into as well, but there was always the niggle I was missing out on Nintendo. They gave me my first unforgettable love affairs with games like Zelda and Super Metroid. I adored my SNES. I adored my SNES and N64 and GameCube, actually. Nintendo, they nurture a real unique identity and character in their titles that's endearing, exciting, and just fun. Nintendo games are just fun. It's no surprise that their exclusive titles have such a lasting legacy. They attract new fans. The old ones are fiercely loyal. One thing that always attracted me to Nintendo games was the music. I can harp on endlessly on the virtues of SNES soundtracks, but all you have to do is look on YouTube, and you can see the enduring relevance of these musical gems. I mean, there are myriad cover versions all over, all different styles, lovingly done by fans, new and old. Anyway, so Starwing was a favourite of mine. Zelda Link to the Past, just absolutely superb. Street Fighter 2, R-Type, various Marios, Bomberman, Mega Man X. When I discovered Final Fantasy VI a bit later, that was awesome, yep. Illusion of Time, I believe you call it Illusion of Gaia in America. Rival Turf, definite Streets of Rage ripoff, but great nonetheless, great soundtrack. There's a really little known platformer which I think still holds up today. It's so weird. It's called Plock. Look that up. What a game. Sky Blazer was a really, really good one. Donkey Kong Country, of course, amazing. The Lost Vikings, that was really, really fun. Had a great soundtrack. And F-Zero, of course, man, one of the best soundtracks ever. And a fun racing game, superb fun racing game. All of those, just thinking about it, those are memorable games. In no small part because of their music, because they're brilliant soundtracks. But they were great, just great games. Clever, I mean, it was such a jump from 8-bit to 16-bit with what you could do with environments and animation, and yeah, it was a good time to be gaming. Going on about the soundtracks, it was only a long time later that the world cottoned on to the caliber of the musical works, and they started doing concerts around the world by top orchestras of these gaming soundtracks. And that's ironic when you consider that if you were gaming all the time, you were considered, you were looked down on. That was the domain of time wasters and slackers and people who didn't have real, time to put into real world pursuits. Now look at gaming now. Saying that, I was a time wasting slacker, but it's cool to see where games have come to. So let's come to one of the crowning achievements of 90s Nintendo, Super Metroid. This game was groundbreaking for me. Surprisingly, it was dark, harsh, lonely, tough, unforgiving. All things I never knew a game could really be, I guess. And damn if it didn't feature one of the most badass heroes ever, Samus Aran. She was strong, she was fast, she was athletic, uncompromising. She had huge guns. No, not those guns. And she was a she that could wield her weapons and run rings around her enemies, as well as any of her male counterparts, maybe better. The late 20th century certainly had a few superb heroines locking around. I'll curveball you with Studio Ghibli's Nausicaa, Sigourney Weaver in Ghostbusters, and then Ripley later, Sarah Connor, Kirsty in Hellraiser, Julia in Hellraiser, no, Terra, Final Fantasy VI, Aerith, Yuffie, Tifa, Final Fantasy VII, and I've got a guilty spot in my heart for Jessica Rabbit, but anyway, I'm getting off topic. There's probably a much more comprehensive and cohesive list that someone with a less fried brain could put together. But anyway, point is, Samus Aran can confidently stand shoulder to shoulder with any of those, any you can name, before unleashing a storm of destruction that could very well leave her last one standing. She's one of my favourite characters ever. She's, not bad considering she never said anything. There's like 3 paragraphs at the start of Super Metroid, and then a wink and a thumbs up at the end, that's it. Samus spoke with her actions. Damn, it just felt so great to kick the arse out of everything in your path. Like, you were just this power-armored juggernaut of destruction. But, clever, the superb level design of Super Metroid, it just stuck you with this potentially overwhelming maze of platforming and puzzling challenges. But you could navigate it so skillfully, and that allowed you to experience Samus's smartness, her intelligence. I got Super Metroid when I was 11, and I was drawn into this journey that never treated me like I was a child that needed his hand held, or tried to shield me from the harsh reality of the game's story. I was marooned on a dark planet with deep catacombs of monsters and secrets, just after having my ass handed to me by a big bad dragon called Ridley. Do you think that was an Alien reference? It's raining, it's isolated, foreboding, sinister. There's no one to guide you, no one to speak to, no one to give you any input at all. You're just driven by the need to catch that Metroid lava. This game should not appeal to a kid. It doesn't give you anything, but somehow I was drawn into this, bleak, dangerous, lonely adventure, which culminates with an incredible moment of tragic sacrifice and sated revenge. All without a word ever being said. It stayed with me all my life, really. It's a powerful experience I had, and I'm glad I had it. On top of being an awesome game, Super Metroid had a banging soundtrack. I mean, what a soundtrack. After the adrenaline-soaked escape from Ridley and the abandoned space station, it starts with this mysterious and unsettling intro as you scratch the surface of Zeebs, and you start to explore Criteria. It gets a bit creepy. Then you eventually get to this elevator, which leads you down further into this dangerous, violent underworld. But wait, what greets you as the screen fades back in, and there's these green thorny vines surrounding you. This snappy percussion group punching into that synth masterpiece, Brinstar Jungle Floor. Oh my god, what a great tune. What a great tune. Now stay with me here, but in the 16-bit era, there was usually a little animation that we used to wait for somewhere in a game to see. Basically, if you left your character standing still for a couple of seconds, a little purpose-built animation would show your character trying to get your attention, essentially saying, "Why you left me standing around, dumbass?" Like Sonic, probably the most recognizable one. He'd just look out the screen at you and tap his foot impatiently. These really nice little touches that gave your character extra personality, and that's a clever way to get round cartridge limitations because your characters couldn't speak. So Samus, well, she didn't do that. She's notoriously a character of few words, and she rarely gives anything away of what's going on inside that suit. But she did have a breathing animation that gave a real subtle but effective realism to her sprite. When your health was low, she'd start breathing faster, and that worked really effectively right at the end. Spoiler, right at the end when you're helpless on your knees before Mother Brain, and she's really breathing hard. That conveys the desperate situation without a word ever being said. Anyway, my point is, sometimes you'd leave the character to stand still to see what they did. Samus did nothing. But when I first entered Upper Brinstar, I left her standing on that elevator, where she stops breathing, by the way, while the track played through a couple of times, because it was that good. It was just that good. Oh my god, what a great track. I loved it so much. That was one of the ones that I worked out on my beat up upright old piano in the dining room. It carved out places like, top tunes in my brain. And I'm glad to listen to all the awesome covers that are out there. Again, Toxic Eternity deserves a mention. That's a real great cover. Hopefully you'll enjoy my version of Red Soil at the end. Anyway, this absolute mammoth of a game stood out as one of the best, fondest memories of my early gaming years, as a game in itself, and for its smart story delivery, but especially for the excellent soundtrack. So, fast forward 26 years. Oh, God, I'm old. Anyway, fast forward 26 years, and I see Metroid Dread trailers, and I am hooked. I mean, those trailers were amazing. I needed to play this game. Having missed Fusion and not being into FPS when Prime came out, I was traumatized by early Doom experiences and by Satan in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Yeah, that left me going into hell in Doom. I couldn't hack it. I've played Doom Eternal now. That's brilliant. I'm glad I managed to overcome that. Anyway, here was a game that looked as slick and exciting as Super Metroid did in '95. Eventually I got a Switch and Dread early this year, 2023. Oh my god, this game is excellent. It's so fun. It's so slick. Samus is more badass than before. She controls like you're telepathically linked. Cinematic boss fights, including Samus unloading missiles point blank into monster faces. Yeah, that's fun. Sweet gadgets, upgrades from the original. Faithful to the original, but upgraded. Oh, the Shine Spark stuff you can do, that's great. Couple of great puzzles with Shine Spark mechanics, that was really fun. The puzzles generally, the really secret puzzles, they were really satisfying and genuinely challenging, you know. Great narrative, good pacing, I thought. Very replayable. And skill skips. The Emmys, I thought, were quite a fun addition. They were definitely dreadful. I didn't like them. I didn't like them any time they started beeping towards me. They made me nervous. Even when you learn to get the counter right for them, there's always a tension when you hear that coming away, and having each one with slightly different capabilities, and having to use the terrain, having to use the room to your advantage. That was good. That was great. Even when you've done them a couple of times, it's still nerve-wracking, especially when you're trying to melt off their faceplate and they're coming towards you. It's good. It's done well, and good soundtrack bit actually there. The only good soundtrack in this game, unfortunately. But great mechanic, definite justification for the title. Okay, I thought the visuals for this game were delicious. Once again, you know, pulling these stylized but very sharp visuals from the Switch's stripped back hardware. The game looked like a Metroid game to me, you know. The gameplay, it just never missed a beat. It was just smooth all the way through, even when you got lots going on screen. You know, I think it could be Joe mentioned the way the camera moves in the grab sequences, and that's really smooth from the 2D straight into the action. It's great to see Samus just pummeling nasties up close and personal. Yeah, and the fact you're controlling the trigger through the cutscenes, that makes for a really satisfying brawl. If I were feeling in a purist mood, I would note that there is not the sense of dread that I got from Zeebs. There's definitely a more kind of anime-esque feel to this one, style, which doesn't do much to enhance the dread epithet, you know. It's quite a colourful, inviting game in a lot of ways. But, you know, I liked the environments, the native fauna running off when you arrive, or the huge whales swimming in the background, the armour suits falling to pieces in Ferenia or Ellen. That was really creepy. That was a really good little touch. There's a bit where you enter an area and there's this like thing smashing through the panel from behind, trying to get in. I never figured out what that was, but it's nice, these interactive backgrounds, you know. Oh, and of course the great obstacle course where the room's falling to pieces in Cancerous. I think that was nice escape. That was very Metroid. But for the dread epithet, this is all really quite a friendly, nice looking and inviting world. Nothing really gives you the feeling of you don't belong here, like those weird glowing faces in Crateria. Thorns and spikes everywhere. Nasty, weird floor and ceiling vaginas ready to devour you. Dread is very inviting and colourful. But along with the soundtrack being, for the most part, inoffensive, you never get the feeling of, man, this is a bad place to get stuck. Thank fuck I'm Samus Aran. To compare with Super again as my only practical alternative, I mean, I've watched a couple of scans of Fusion and Prime, but Super's the one that I played. And when you're in the depths of Norfair, the music really tells you you're going to wish you were in hell rather than here, bitch. You know, like Ridley's coming. The wrecked ship, you know, the music, it was a kind of Scooby-Doo cheesy backdrop, but it worked. Meridia's music was great, but yeah, Meridia is Meridia, and I kind of agree with most everyone else. But the music was good. I guess one notable exception was going past the corpse of that late boss that's still twitching in the dark, and then you power it on and it's actively being poked, and then finally it comes to slash you up like a 80s film bully. The storytelling in the game was well handled. I enjoyed the plot, and I didn't see the Adam twist coming. And to be honest, I didn't twig that Ravenbeak lets you live at the start because your Metroid power is manifesting. Yeah, I'm pretty slow on this shit. I missed the dead soil around Midgar for like 20 years. I also missed that the lumpy things in Super Metroid around the broken canisters at the start. I missed that they were dead scientists. I thought they were just like colourful lumps of mould. Spanner. Anyway, this game had a lot of good lore expansion, I thought. I was glad to meet Quiet Robe and bend over to receive his enormous exposition, not least because Red Soil was playing in the background. And the lore we got was really good. And the still art, I really thought that was nicely rendered. Nicely rendered. Some really good artists working on that. So, coming on to the big fights, I really enjoyed the bosses in Dread, even the weird clitoris clam. The final fight was just electric. But it requires full understanding of how to maneuver Samus, when you should be releasing the left stick or when you should hold. That came into play when you're doing the slide off the ledge jump trick to get the bomb. Like, you manage to do something accidentally and then you have to go back and figure, oh, what did I do? And like, you have to slide and let go of the left stick and then jump, and she does it fluidly. When I was trying to space jump around Ravenbeak's stream laser, my jump kept failing and I kept falling. And I was like, what's going on here? And then I realised, you've got to keep the stick held. But finally kicking his ass was like, that was 10 out of 10, so satisfying. That was great fun fight. Kraid being redone, that was fun. I'd only fought him in Super, so it was, I was happy to see him again. And when you figure out the bomb trick and ruin him from inside, that was a really nice touch. That was really nice from the devs to put that in for the sequence break purposes. That was the only one that I found myself after 4 odd playthroughs, I think. But after watching a couple of videos online, spoilers, there's another one you can flash into his jaws. Wicked. So the devs obviously put a good degree of freedom in this game, which you'd only find on multiple replays. There's a few different ways you can fight a few of the bosses, at least I think. So initially I thought this game definitely lays you out a very obvious path that you can sort of power through without getting lost, and only really allowed for a couple of very minor deviations. But while I was doing this video, I checked out some of the sequence breaks that people have found, and I realised that the devs built in a fair amount of flexibility to the game while still having that standard path that works pretty flawlessly if you're not interested in doing that. That's fairly genius design work, I think. I guess you could add extra challenge to the game by not using the map or highlight these icons or whatever. You could not use the teleporters. I guess the option is there to backtrack manually if the mood takes you, I guess. So it's just when a transporter is placed so conveniently, it does make you want to take it. I guess there's pros and cons. I guess the options are there to play the game how you'd like. I would like the hand-holding to be less forced, less obvious. Like Adam shutting the room down before you can leave so he can tell you exactly what to do. That kind of irritated me, The real bad one was when the planet's frozen and he says, go immediately to Cataris, unfreeze the place, then come back here because Ravenbeak's hidden something great here. Well, that's a bit in your face for me, thanks, Would it not have been better to have Adam as a hint system that you could optionally call for assistance if you were stuck, rather than forcing you to listen to his directions? And Quiet Robe opens a door for you to a new area. Why didn't you make that an optional thing, right? You could have had it that Quiet Robe, spoilers, Quiet Robe dies, and after the fight, you can go over to his workstation and look at what he's looking at and open the door yourself. But if you don't do that, then you have to go like a long way round, and then you can open the door from when you get inside it. Wouldn't have that been a more, hindsight's 2020, but I would have liked them to give those key moments less automation, a bit more player interaction. Anyway, regards Samus's capabilities in Dreads, my god, she is fucking unstoppable. Literally, by the end, she's pretty much invincible while she stays airborne. I love her somersault jump animation in this. It just looks so compact and quick. And then when you start wall flipping around, and then when you start speed boost flipping around, yeah, man, it looks really great. I was really glad to see in the intro video sequence the somersault jumps. Yeah, like that. You'll see that in the music video. So the advanced puzzles, when you're using Shine Sparkle over the place, and they look really good back in video. The addition of these Aeon abilities, they're great fun. I liked confusing the homing enemies with the cloak, or flash shifting across the screen in boss fights was really fun. You feel powerful and capable and, again, smart controlling Samus. Evading the enemies before charging up and unloading Mega Destruction on their face. There's a great balance to striking gameplay. Not just overwhelming your foes, but outsmarting them is something Dread does well, I think. It does justice to Samus's character. Okay, so weapons. Your standard energy cannon is really cool, even at its initial level. Much better than Super's. As you slowly upgrade it till it's like this devastating quick fire monster masher. Even the spongy X enemies, they're fun to kill because you're just like, whoa! There's a fair bit of variety about how to kill each thing. You know, sometimes charge shots are better, sometimes missiles, sometimes just spam shooting, sometimes counter kills. But I never got bored with the weapons at my disposal. Do you remember in Super, there was the triple beam was called a spazer, yeah. Evidently, that was considered too politically incorrect a name and was changed to wide beam. And that's lame, that's so lame. That sounds like something on my car, man, my car headlights, right? I still think girth cannon is the best name like you will ever come up with for that. But anyway, toxic masculinity aside, I really liked the arsenal you get. Like the missiles getting steadily upgraded till you can charge for storm or fire normal for ice. That was much slicker than Super Metroid. You know, the select and deselect system. You know, you'd expect that for a game 20 years newer, obviously. The fact I'm still comparing and referencing to Super Metroid shows how good a game it was. That still holds up to replaying today, you know. I did just discover, actually, replaying Super. There's a one-use mode for the item select. So if you hold item cancel and then select your missile or your power bomb or whatever, it'll flash and it's a one-use mode. Never knew that. Trouble is training yourself to instinctively do that. You know, it's probably not worth the effort. You just deselect it. Anyway, the quality of life upgrades in Dread are just infallible. Having enough buttons to be able to switch fluidly between movement, fixed aiming, grapple beam, morph ball, missiles, or Aeon abilities. That's evidence of excellent control scheme design. Really, really smooth. And that translates into being able to put all of those varied abilities to use seamlessly in really frantic boss fights. Working out to rip the Chozo's shield off, using the storm missiles on the monster claws, putting absolutely everything to work against Ravenbeak. You know, that's good design. That's good design. I think that's worthy of definite praise. The militancy to which your weapons get upgraded, plus the 360-degree aim control, just made targeting easy and fun. Also allowed for some very sexy Samus poses, like even more when you did the like post melee counter, like, oh, she looked great. Targeting a single boss with like 5 targets and then just unleashing. Yeah, that always felt really good. So, counter mechanic, that's been very divisive. Some people complaining that makes the combat samey, but I thought it was a really fun addition to the Metroid formula that Samus basically shoots everything. It made it seem even tougher, I think, you know, batting away like attacks before unleashing that pulverizing charge shot. You know, I thought it felt good. I thought it felt good. Dread mode, that thing was basically indispensable, but I could only get halfway through that difficulty, to be honest, and I was kind of like, this isn't a particularly fun challenge. I wish there could have been like maybe another challenge between Dread and Hard, or maybe just a different sort of challenge for Dread. You know, the endless one-shot kill thing, even if you land on one of those really lame enemies, like that's just on a floor below you that you can't see, it's pretty annoying. Beyond that, I enjoyed the counter. I didn't always use it. It made refilling health easy, but I still chose to spam blast enemies or missile away as the situation allowed. I think some gamers see like mechanics like the counter as game breakers. So they will literally ascertain the most efficient way of killing stuff and then routinely do that through the entire game. And then complain that the game didn't offer enough variety in combat. And I'm kind of like, why are you playing games? You know, you're not playing it, you're reducing it to a mathematical equation and then, well, rinse and repeat. Yes, you could methodically wait for each enemy to attack, then counter, and never fire a random shot. But the game doesn't force you to do that. That's a choice that you're choosing to make your play and expediency grind. That's not how the game was made. That's anyway. Before I get all holier than thou, I will just say that I enjoyed the combat in this game. I never got bored, even playing through several times in quick succession. And if you look online, there's people finding new ways to do this or that already, and you know, I enjoyed it. All in all, I found Dread to be a superb 2D adventure. Why then the completely forgettable soundtrack? I can't remember any of the tunes. They all seem just kind of vaguely ominous ambience. That's just such a shame. Like, no somersaulting to Brinstar synth rock here. Disappointing. Didn't have to be everywhere, but Gavaran was ripe for some really cool action tune, but no, nothing with me. Nereus on YouTube, he pretty much slated this game for a variety of reasons. But the one he said was most forgivable was the lackluster soundtrack. That's the biggest sin for me, like, especially Nintendo. He suggested recycling Super's amazing soundtrack because it was such a great work that it would probably never be topped. But I totally disagree with that. Like, there's always new and interesting music to be created, and Nintendo's got a superb record in that department, which makes the music choice in Dread even more of a disappointment. When has Zelda ever been released with anything less than jaw-dropping music, even if some of it is recycled? When you meet Quiet Robe and Red Soil comes in, it really emphasised the scene's emotion. Before the Metroid intro bassline comes in and Samus one-lines it. Oh, sweet. The rest I'm just left cold. Spoilers. When the X were flying out all over the place, there was no like, uh-oh music, like missed opportunity. I'm not saying the music's bad, nor that it doesn't work as an ambient and atmospheric accompaniment to the game, but it just never grips me and like just makes me want to stop and enjoy the tune. Like, I think Varinia had some sort of tune to it, if I recall, but I couldn't hum any of the Dread soundtrack if I wanted to. Like, I just can't remember it. You compare that to Super, and that amounts to like the biggest failing in the game for me. That aside, for the most part, I think this game is pretty much a slam dunk. The biggest issue besides the soundtrack is that you can't help but compare it to Super. I mean, it's a lot less lonely than Super was. Adam's chatting to you the whole way, you meet Quiet Robe. And the level design basically walks you through the game without you ever having to worry about getting lost. Get a new weapon, go open this door with it. You need to go to another area, here's a teleporter. There's never a moment where you feel like, I don't know where to go. And I guess, don't get me wrong, that's like still quite a feat of design to make the game take you where you need to go without feeling like you're going down a corridor. Final Fantasy 13 looking at you. But I guess I never really felt like I could be fully lost in Dread. Super was just as big and varied, but you had to use your memory and backtrack all over to finish. But I still had fun exploring Dread and trying to get stuff before you were supposed to. Incidentally, you look at a game like Ghost Song, an indie game, very Super Metroid style game, that gives you no clues whatsoever. It's literally like, I can't go this way or I'm going to get massacred by this thing, so I better go this way. I enjoyed that game a lot. But Dread, despite those criticisms, and the still glaring omission of the Crystal Flash, it was really fun. Definitely a satisfying chance to go on an adventure with Samus again. I'd be glad if they did another, like a follow-up, with the same control mechanics, but a new adventure and a less guided experience, and make sure to write a fucking soundtrack for it. All in all, though, damn good game. That's the Game Ramble, guys. If you'd like to stick around for my Red Soil cover, keep watching. Otherwise, thanks a lot, have a good holiday, and catch you probably in the new year.